Welcome, everyone. My name is Scott McMullan. I'm the Google Apps Partner Lead with Google Enterprise. Welcome to our session. Thanks for hanging out with us today. There's a lot of amazing sessions happening right now, so appreciate you attending. I've shared the stage today with three awesome co-presenters. Cameron Henneke, founder of GQs, Jim McNelis, CEO and founder of Dido, and Matt Trifiro, SVP of Marketing at Assistly. So today's session is going to be a bit high level. We're not going to do a lot of code. We'll talk a little tech, but it's mainly around the marketplace and the business opportunities and some of the product opportunities that exist as facilitated by the marketplace. So quick housekeeping, our feedback link is here. We'd love your feedback live as we go. And hashtags for this are IO2011 and Google Apps. So before we start, this is not made for someone my height. Before we start talking about the marketplace, we need to do a little level set on what Google Apps is. How many folks use Google Apps in their business or? Okay, we've got a few hands that didn't go up. So we'll work on that. So Google Apps is our hosted messaging and collaboration product. It consists of things like Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Contacts, Google Docs, Google Video, Google Sites, a whole suite of applications hosted by Google, serving customers of all sizes, so small, medium, and large businesses, as well as educational institutions and governments. So we've got two price points for this product. We have a free edition, which we give to educational institutions and nonprofits and small companies, and a paid edition. And that's $50 a user a year. And in fact, I think we just announced also monthly pricing as well, but that's a paid edition product. And what we're really happy to talk about in general is the context of adoption. So we've seen really, really strong adoption of Google Apps. It's getting stronger every month, every quarter. And these are potentially your customers. We've got over 30 million users from 3 million businesses and 3,000 more signing up each day. And these folks are getting core mission-critical messaging collaboration applications on the cloud from Google, and they want a lot more, right? So this is the opportunity. They come asking for us, hey, do you have this application? Can you do that application? How do I do how do I do this? And we say, look, we do what we've got here. We've got these great applications, but we cannot serve everything. And that's what you guys are doing, right? You guys are out there, excuse me, innovating in all kinds of areas. And so the mission of the marketplace is to make it really easy for those 30 million users, 3 million businesses, to find more great web-based applications to run their businesses and their organizations. And this is across, again, anything you guys want to sell, anything you guys want to do based on your expertise and the markets you're addressing, you team with us to extend that Google Apps suite with your application. And so we want to make that easy as a few clicks, and we'll talk about, I'll give you a demo of that in a second. So that's the basic mission, that's the basic opportunity, is to work together to serve those customers. And I want to step back, before we go into some of the details, I want to step back and talk a little bit about the context of the marketplace and how it fits in with larger Google Enterprise. So 100% web, that's really kind of a vision and a strategy we've got that says simply, in 2011, a business should be able to run their entire business using nothing more than a web browser. So with that as a mental model, we call that 100% web, a bunch of things need to come together to make that happen, right? So you need, first of all, at the top, you need great devices. You need great physical devices, you need great browsers, which is why we're investing in Chrome OS and Chrome, and you certainly need great mobile experiences around, and we're investing there in Android for tablets and smartphones. But once you've got access to a modern browser, you need, obviously, apps. So the three tiers in the middle here, so on the left, we've got Google Apps. These are the applications that we are selling directly to customers. You've got applications that customers want to build for themselves, so IT developers, custom programmers, SIs, VARs, people who want to build custom applications. We offer Google App Engine as a platform as a service for that. And there's lots of other great options out there for that. But we offer App Engine. And then the third pillar here is the marketplace. So packaged applications ready to roll from you all. And then, of course, we've got our investment in the infrastructure, global infrastructure for the cloud. I do want to make one point here. Even though the marketplace is kind of sitting on our platform, App Engine and our hosting services are not a requirement to use Marketplace. You can host your application anywhere you want. Okay, so how are we doing? So the good news is adoption is growing. It's growing strongly. We've got over 300 apps in the Marketplace today. Again, these are web applications. They may have mobile companions, but these are primarily web applications serving businesses and educational institutions. And to give you a sense of kind of what to expect in terms of what sort of download rate, what sort of install rate, as we call it, the top applications today are seeing north of 1,000 new businesses a week. So these are businesses, these aren't users. So one business may have 5 users, may have 50 users, may have 500 users. But this is a kind of a indication of where we are in our adoption of the Marketplace and our customers' discovery of how these applications work. So let me give you a quick demo, just to see the customer experience, what it's like for a user to browse the Marketplace and to then install an application into their domain. Okay, so here's the home page. We've got categories on the left, different types of applications. We also have our partners, our VARs, our professional services partners offering professional services in here. Featured and notable, so we do promotion of certain applications in the center. Users can scroll through that. And then some of our top applications listed on the right. So let's just say today that I'm a Google Apps administrator. I'm looking for a project management application. I hit search. I've got a bunch of choices. I'm going to take a quick look at this first one, ManyMoon. This is one of our launch partners from a little over a year ago. As a user, I can certainly read about the application. I can watch videos. You're free to put a lot of kind of your collateral and your marketing materials in here. I can look at some ratings and reviews, 266. And let's just say I'm interested in making this happen and bringing this to my users. So again, I'm an administrator of a Google Apps domain. This button right here is where all the action happens. So the Add It Now button is the main call to action. You want users to click on this, and it's going to ask them to log in. So I need to authenticate against my domain. So as an admin, scott@ehik.com is my personal domain. Okay, so it's a 3-step process. First is terms of service. So I can review ManyMoon's terms of service. These would be your terms of service. I can review it here, agree and continue. The next step is pretty much the most important. So the main premise of these applications is they're not only just listed in a directory, but they actually integrate in together. They build common integrated features, sharing data, sharing UI. So ManyMoon happens to be a highly integrated application. They integrate with Google Docs, Google Spreadsheets, Google Calendar, Contacts, and email. And so these are all of the API endpoints that they're asking access to. And so by clicking Grant Data Access here, as an administrator, I gave a 2-legged OAuth data access grant to ManyMoon to access my domain data listed here. So with that one click, those two, the ManyMoon application and my domain are now kind of authorized to speak to each other. And then final step here is to enable the application. This gives it to all my users and the universal navigation link, which I'll show you in a second. So that's it. So we've just taken the suite of maybe 8 Google Apps, 7 Google Apps, and we've expanded it by 1 to include ManyMoon. So they have their own settings page. And I'm going to show you 2 quick things, again, just to give you a sense of what the users experience. On my dashboard page, again, I can review all the Google applications here, as well as a couple Marketplace applications that I've got installed. So they're all kind of holistically given to the admin to see in one place. And actually, let me point out here that we also do some promotions. So, one of the benefits of the Marketplace is we get a lot of information about what the applications are and how they work and the types of customers that use them and like them and the different, adoption rates. So we're starting to take these applications out of the Marketplace browsing experience and bring them into other experiences where users live. So in this case, it's the dashboard. I'm an admin, and I have 4 applications recommended for me that I can either click on and add them immediately, or I can go and visit their page in the Marketplace. So it's not just about going and sending people to a Marketplace. We want to make sure that recommendations and personalization work really well for users. So let me flip over one last bit to my inbox. So as a user, I can take a look here in the upper left, and I certainly can browse to my calendar, Google Docs, or what have you. But now I've got, in the More menu, I've got links to apps from the marketplace. And here's ManyMoon. I click on that, and I'm logged in. The other thing I actually haven't mentioned yet is that the single sign-on is a core experience for all marketplace applications. So that no need to provision, create extra accounts, add user passwords. Every marketplace app comes with a single sign-on experience at a minimum, and this is done through OpenID, which is something that you all would need to develop too. So that's the quick tour of installing an application. Let me flip back to the presentation. So how does this work? So the first thing, of course, build your application. Again, this can be an existing application that you are selling in market for the last month, year, 10 years, brand new applications, whatever. But you build it on the stack of your choice. No dependency on App Engine. Of course, we love App Engine, but no dependency there. The second and the most interesting part, and I think some of our co-presenters will talk about this, is the integration. Again, this is not a directory of applications on the web. These are a directory of applications that have the ability to do online provisioning and, most importantly, offer kind of integrated experiences. And we have a couple more talks that really drill into how to create those integrated experiences and the APIs later on today and tomorrow, so I encourage you to attend those. But this is the step where you would start to work on making those customers love our applications together. And so, again, the first one, single sign-on, is a requirement. All applications must become OpenID reliant parties. And then we have well over a dozen APIs for all of our applications beyond that, where you guys can optionally choose to create integrated features. And then sell. Right? The whole point is we're trying to take existing applications and sell them. 3 million businesses, 30 million users, and increasingly engage our resellers. We have over 2,000 value-added resellers who are trained on Google Apps. They're selling Google Apps, they're deploying their training, and they are increasingly looking to add additional applications to their portfolios, and they're looking to Marketplace as a great source of complementary applications. So this is an opportunity we'll be talking about more later on this year, but it's already happening today, and I think Jim will actually talk a little bit about this in his session. So what do we ask? We ask for two things. A $100 fee, so anti-spam fee. Think about that as making sure you are a real you, and you can make one or more listings in the marketplace after paying us $100. And then 20% recurring revenue share. This is where we ask to share 20% of the revenue that you would get for any new customers that you acquire through the marketplace. Your existing customers could come in and use these integrations, no problem. New customers that we help you get, when they pay, we'll share 20%. And we're going to implement this through a billing API, which is actually not yet released. We're still working on it. So we're in exemption mode right now. No one's paying rev share to date, all of 300 applications. But that's coming later on this year. Okay, so in terms of how this works for developers, again, build, integrate, list, and sell. Let's talk a little bit more about that integration step. We use a manifest file to essentially describe the set of integrations that you've done with our application. And our application. So things like terms of service, where does that live, support URL, simple stuff, but then the API endpoints that you want to access, you list them here as API scopes in addition to your OpenID information. So this all gets declared in a simple XML file, and then when you're ready to actually start to test it and start to get it out to users, it's two more forms to fill out. First is you're going to become a vendor, and that's where that $100 fee comes in. Name, address, company name, address, logo, but then you create a listing. And this is your application. This is kind of your marketing page, your home page on the marketplace. All your collateral goes in here, but then that manifest file on the lower left, that's where you paste that in. So once you do that, you hit save, and you've got your page. You can make sure you like it, make sure it looks good. Of course, add it now and start to test the provisioning process. When you first save it, it is not live. You get to kind of tweak it into your heart's desire. When you're ready to actually engage customers, you publish it. And that tells our application approval team to take a look at it. We'll look, and we have a lightweight vetting process that makes sure that you have OpenID implemented, that there are no bugs, and our basic terms of service are adhered to. And then we will approve it. 3 to 5 business days right now is the current time, and then you're live, right? Then you're launched. And that's where things obviously get interesting, right? We want to get to that point as soon as possible. So let me just run through a couple more things around kind of the acquisition process and what it looks like to engage customers, and some of the promotions that we do for the marketplace. So the first basic tip is that don't skip your launch marketing. Right? You may be an application, again, that exists and you've been selling for years, but these are new users. These are 3 million new businesses that may not have heard of your application, and you maybe have new features. So make sure that you give them a proper launch to get yourself visibility within that group beyond just being in the marketplace. So high quality listing page, landing pages in your sites, blogging, tweeting, press outreach, based on your intent and budget, but this is something that we really highly recommend you not skip. And then after you're live, what do you expect? So pretty high level, but this is really nothing different than what you do today on your own websites. So, it's a funnel, listing page views. You can plug your analytics code into your marketplace listing to get some intelligence about, refers and page views and things like that. Tracking the Add It Now call to action, and then driving app usage and converting to paid is really where a lot of the work goes from an execution standpoint. And again, I think some of my co-presenters have some interesting tidbits to share here as well. So that's a super quick tour of the marketplace, what it is, up to customers using it and engaging with you. In terms of our promotion, right, the big value add here is that we're going to not only provide this platform for integration, but we're going to make sure people know about the marketplace and drive usage. So we do that in a handful of ways, and we're always looking for creative ideas and looking to get better at this. So the first major way we do promotion is in our products themselves. So as you saw, whether it's in the upper left where we have a Find More Services link, if you're in the universal navigation, that will get you to the marketplace. Our setup wizard, which launched a couple months ago, all new customers come through this and essentially walk through a wizard to set up Google Apps, and there's a very explicit area where we talk about the marketplace and what it is and recommend some applications to that user right in that setup flow. And then, of course, I just showed you in the dashboard. So admins who go to the dashboard will see recommended apps right now. And, of course, the format may change, and we're going to always tune this. But the main takeaway here is that, we're selling into a group of users who are using Google Apps and clearly want and have requested more. And so we're trying to get better and better at taking things in the marketplace that are great and helping people discover them while they're using our products, as well as just shopping the marketplace. So that includes our product site. We drive a lot of users here, of course, to educate them about our products, and part of our core product is, one of our pillars is the marketplace. So you see we'll help educate customers about what's there in the lower left. We do AdWords campaigns. We love AdWords. People are searching. We take out campaigns around keywords that relate to Google Apps, drive traffic to categories, drive traffic to search terms that may essentially surface your application in that search term. And we do all the good stuff, blogging and tweeting. We have a YouTube channel where you can host a video of your application working with ours. And of course, the press, right? So, back to the 100% web, we're really, the mission is to get customers excited and to get customers adopt and really help benefit their business. And so, to the extent that you have interesting customer stories, we should be sharing these stories and helping not only blogging and tweeting about them, but also engaging the press and making sure the press understands what it looks like as these businesses are moving more and more their business to the cloud. So that's it for me. Get to the real meat and the real content of the presentation. I'd like to invite up Cameron.
Great. Thanks, Scott. Hello, my name is Cameron Henneke. I'm the founder and CEO of GQs. First today, I'll tell you a little bit about GQs and why we joined the marketplace. Then we'll go to a quick demo, and I'll follow it up with some marketplace tips. So back in 2008, I decided it was time to move my paper to-do list to the cloud. I tried several products and found them either overly complex or simple yet lacking the features I needed to stay organized. So I did what most developers do in this situation. I set out to create something new. GQs is an online task manager that people use to actually get things done. So it's simple yet powerful. has just the right features you need, basically no learning curve, and then integrates with other products you use day to day. As you'll see, GQueues is very Google-centric. It's built on App Engine using Python and uses almost all of the services provided by that platform. Users can log in with Gmail or Google Apps, and it uses a number of other Google Data APIs as well. So why did we join the marketplace? GQueues was started about a year before the marketplace launched and already offered Google Apps login using OpenID. So when I first heard about the marketplace from Scott, the decision to join was really easy for several reasons. First, integration is really simple. It took very little investment on my part in terms of development time and testing to get GQueues listed on the marketplace. If your app already supports OpenID, basically integration is just one step, writing the manifest XML file that Scott showed you earlier. Secondly, though, the marketplace serves a great audience. GQueues already targeted consumers using Google products, and with the marketplace, I was able to reach 30 million business customers using Google products. And these customers already realize the benefits of software as a service, and they're willing to pay for products that integrate with Google Apps. So by listing on the marketplace, GQueues gained access to a huge audience that's essentially predisposed to buying the service. So let's check out a demo now, and we'll see how it works. Close some of this. Okay, so you came to Google I/O, and you had a lot of fun, and you learned a bunch of cool new things. Let's pretend that you're responsible for planning the lessons learned meeting for your group when they get back from the conference. So you have your email open here, and you can just click on GQueues and start planning your tasks. There's basically two tasks you need to do. The first is to book a meeting room, and the second, of course, is to order lunch food. And we'll go ahead and assign this to our coworker, Julie. And we can create a couple of subtasks too, just so we don't forget. Okay, now the tasks here with dates automatically show up on your calendar. So we pull that up here. The Google Calendar API is used for integration, and GQueues actually supports two-way syncing, so you can change the tasks from the calendar itself. Actually, we should probably order lunch food on Thursday. And if we go back here and refresh, we see that the task has been updated with the new date here. So you just saw how easy it is to create a list of tasks within GQueues itself. But a lot of times our work comes to us through email. So let's switch back here to email. And here's a new message which requires action. You need to invite the new hires to the lessons learned meeting. So you can actually go down here to the GQueues gadget, and we'll transform this email into a task. You can choose our lessons learned list, and we'll just say invite new hires. And there we go. And then we can archive this email to get it out of our inbox. Or let's say a task just pops into your head. You can actually record it by chatting with GQueues. If we pull up chat here, you need to submit conference receipts. Okay, the item's been added. We'll switch back to GQueues. First, we'll refresh lessons learned. Okay, there's the new task that we created out of the email, and there's a link to the email for reference. And then if we go to our inbox, here's the task that we chatted, and we can just drag that to our to-do list. And there we go. So that's just a quick overview of GQueues and some of its Google product integrations. We'll flip back here. let's talk about tips for the marketplace. You saw from Scott earlier how easy it is to get your app listed on the marketplace with the required single sign-on integration. My #1 tip for being successful on the marketplace is to add as many integration points as possible with other Google products. And this has benefits on many levels. First, it's great for the user. If your service works seamlessly with other products that they already use, then there's no learning required for them. For instance, Google Calendar users already know how to drag and drop events around, so dragging GQ's tasks around just seems intuitive. No learning required. Integration also increases user adoption within the organization. So having your app listed in the navigation menu, it really does make it easy for anyone within a company to discover your app and to test it out. So this all seems intuitive, but how do I know that users want integration? Back when GQ's was in beta, I actually surveyed users to find out which features were most important to them. By far, the #1 feature was Google Calendar integration, followed by sharing lists with their contacts. So I put these features in the full version of GQ's. Users can do almost everything else for free in GQ's Lite, whether it's create subtasks or tagging, repeating tasks, publish lists. But if they want the integration, they have to pay. And they do. If you look here at the difference between GQ's Lite and the full version, almost all of the premium features here relate to integration. Google Calendar, Contacts, Gmail. People value products that work with their existing tools. So secondly, more integration helps your app's listing in the marketplace itself. Each listing here has a set of icons that represent the product integrations, so customers can easily see how closely your app works with others. A deeply integrated app means their users are going to save time. Plus, customers can search the marketplace based on product integrations. So the more you have, the broader your presence in the marketplace. Lastly, and most obvious, integrating with existing products speeds up development. So sure, I could have created a separate calendar system for GQs. This would have taken a lot of development time, not to mention the fact that users don't want yet another calendar that they have to check. And since Google Calendar exists, it's been field tested by millions of users worldwide. It really just makes sense to build on top of this work. Plus, since GQ's is built on App Engine, adding integration is even easier. For instance, App Engine has XMPP services built in. So the GQ's chatbot that I demoed, it really only took me about 2 days to develop and test. So how has the marketplace helped? GQ's is based on a freemium model, so an important metric to look at is conversion rate. And the average conversion rate for a typical freemium product is between 3 and 5%. So I pulled data for GQ's from the past 10 months. And for all the regular channels, the average conversion rate was 6.4%. That's from free users to paid subscribers. So a little bit higher than expected. But the GQ's users from the marketplace convert at a rate of 30.3%, which is huge. I said earlier that the marketplace really targets an audience that's ready to buy, and I think the data backs this up. So conversion rate is great, but how much traffic do I actually get from the marketplace? So in addition to the marketplace, GQ's gets new users from its own website, the Google Chrome Web Store, and a bunch of word-of-mouth referrals. Looking at the data from the same 10-month period, it turns out that 27% of all GQ's users are acquired via the marketplace. So this is not a majority, but it's still a very substantial channel. And when you combine that data with the conversion rate of the last slide, and you do all the math, you'll see that the marketplace is actually responsible for 63% of all paid GQ's users. So this is a very impressive number, and I must say that I'm quite pleased with the results I've seen on the marketplace so far. So just to recap, in case you're looking to follow a similar path, create a product that solves a real problem for users, integrate with their existing tools, and lastly, join the marketplace to gain access to a targeted and growing audience. If you have questions for me, I'll be in the sandbox today and tomorrow. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it over now to Jim with Dido.
Thanks, Cameron. That was great. Hi, my name is Jim McNelis. I am the CEO and founder of Dido. We established ourselves in 2007 as a web design firm. I immediately set up Google Apps for my own domain, and I realized I got into the wrong business. And so for the next year and a half, I actually worked on creating a business around providing Google Apps to customers. I'm one of the resellers that Scott mentioned earlier. So we've been a Google Apps authorized reseller since October 2008. We were one of the first, and now there's thousands. We also have a 100% certified Google Apps deployment team, which means that our deployment team has been certified by Google to deploy Google Apps to customers. So we're bringing customers to the marketplace, essentially. We're creating customers for this marketplace. In addition to being a reseller, we're also an ISV, and we were a launch partner for the Google Apps Marketplace last year, and we're in the sandbox again this year, so if you do have any questions for me about our application after this, you can feel free to come check us out. But basically, we were working with customers, setting them up on Google Apps, and they were coming and telling us the things that they wanted Google Apps to do. And there weren't a lot of applications at this time that were serving that, so we set out to develop our own application called Dido Directory. And Dido Directory is basically a contact manager for Google Apps customers. It's built for Google Apps customers, it's built on App Engine, and it lives in the Google Apps Marketplace. It's very, very googly. And essentially, our customers came to us and said, Jim, we like the contacts in Google, but we really want to be able to share our groups of contacts with other people in our organization, and we can't do that today in Google Apps. So what we set out to do is to develop a interface in order to allow users to go in and share their existing contact groups with other users in their organization. I'm going to show you that real quick. So today, this is actually a demonstration of our upcoming version of Dido Directory. Today, we have an older version in the marketplace. This version will be launching sometime in the next month. This functionality is brand new. If you're interested in testing it out ahead of time, again, come check us out in the sandbox, and we'll be able to give you advanced access. But so today, what I want to do is I just want to take this group of, let me refresh the page real quick. I just want to take a group of contacts, and I just want to share it with another user in my organization. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the Google I/O group, and I just want to make sure this is the right group, so I have these 4 users in here. And I'm going to add Vinay. Save the group. And you can see that Vinay is listed here as having the group shared with him. So now I'm just going to go really quickly. Sign in as Vinay. Uh-oh. Demo gods are out, huh? Here we go. Let's navigate to my mailbox. And we'll go into Vinay's contacts, and we should see in just a moment. Here we go. It's Google I/O, and we will see these 4 contacts in here. So we've synced these contacts up. That synchronization will continue to happen. If I change my contacts, they'll update on Vinay's side. So it's just a quick demonstration of what our application does. Now I want to talk to you a little bit about some tips on the marketplace that we've learned since we launched on the marketplace, and specifically around ratings and reviews. Ratings and reviews tell a story. So what I have here is I have 2 lines today. The rating, on the red line is the rating, and where it starts out is the highest rating you can get. That's a 5-star rating. And then I have a relative line for the number of pro versions of our Dido directory sold. So you can see here that in the beginning we had started out with some really great reviews, and we had an uptick in our sales. And then shortly thereafter, sometime in November, we released a new version that didn't really work that great, and our customers told us that it didn't work that great. and via the reviews on the marketplace. And then we noticed that our sales actually shadowed that. About a month later, our sales dropped. And we worked really hard to improve those reviews and to work on the problems that were brought up in the reviews. And as a result, our reviews started to rise back up. And as a result of that, our sales also have gone back to about normal. So we're today at a 4-star rating on the marketplace. We started out with a 5-star rating. So reviews are really important. And so people leave reviews. You don't get to choose what reviews they leave you. You can only develop a great product and hope that people leave an appropriate review. But you can manage your reviews. And what do I mean by that? So first of all, negative reviews. When you see a negative review, one thing we do is we reach out to the customer and we try to solve their problem. And then once we solve their problem, we ask them to go back and amend their review. They can just basically edit their review if they're already on there. The marketplace is smart and knows that they've already left a review for you. So they go back and they amend their review. So we're successful with that sometimes, and that definitely helps bring your average back up. It erases that negative review essentially. And of course, another way that you can reach your customers is there's several different times where you can ask them to review you. After they've purchased your app and used it for a period of time, after you've provided some level of support for the application, and then of course, if they've given you that positive feedback via phone or email, asking them to go to the marketplace and review you. And we just suggest having a nice templated instructions available explaining exactly how to leave those reviews on the marketplace just to make it really easy for them to do it. But reviews are very important, and we've had the exact impact of having negative reviews and having our sales drop off of a cliff. So I've had a lot of experience with working with those reviews as well. Also, as Cameron mentioned earlier, typical freemium is somewhere between 3 and 5%. Dito directory is actually converted much better, around 12.5%. So we're not actually listed anywhere else. The only place we list our application is on the marketplace, and this is representative of since the first of the year. And then there's a lot of thing we really like about it, the marketplace, and that is that we get a lot of traffic. The web is all about getting people to look at your product and services, and the marketplace provides us with an excellent place, an excellent destination on the web for our products and professional services. So you can see here, this is since the beginning of this year, we've had approximately 10,000 viewers to our website, 10,000 visitors to our website. We've had a little bit more than that to our Dito directory listing on the marketplace. So just that one listing for our application alone overshadows all of our professional services and listings on our own website, which has a pretty good page rank. It's page rank 5. It's listed very well in the search engine. So just want to point out here, and then this last bar here actually shows we have our professional services, which Scott touched on very briefly, listed on the marketplace as well. So if there's 8 other listings in our Dito directory listing, we have at least 3 times the amount of traffic that we have on our own website. So we get a lot more eyeballs on our product and on our services just from the Google Apps Marketplace. And so what does this mean? This means that this is a place that the Google Apps Marketplace is a place where us as a reseller are pointing our customers to go purchase third-party applications when they tell us they need something that Google Apps doesn't fit. And it also means that it's a place for us as a vendor to list our applications, and then it gives us credibility as a vendor in the Google Apps ecosystem. That's all I have for today. Now I'm going to turn you over to Matt, and he's going to tell you about Assistly.
Thank you, Jim. This is Dan Stern from Assistly. Also, I'm Matt Trifiro of Assistly. He's going to drive my demo in a few minutes. I'm the SVP Marketing of Assistly, and let me arrange this a little bit. So what is Assistly? Assistly is a all-in-one customer service system. Plug it into your website and start wowing your customers on email, live chat, self-service FAQ, social media channels like Facebook and Twitter, and even phone. And it is everything you need to provide support. So why did we choose to enter the Google Apps Marketplace? The first thing is Google has done the heavy lifting of finding some terrific customers. We're a business-to-business application. We're an enterprise-grade application. We target small to medium-sized enterprises. B2B lead generation is really, really hard, and it's really expensive. So Google has provided this environment of highly targeted, ready-to-buy customers. The people that use Google Apps have already made a decision to use it throughout their organization, and they're looking to leverage that investment. And so they go to the Google Apps Marketplace to find those opportunities to leverage it. Gmail is the #1 application used in the Google Apps Suite, and so if you're like a Sicily and you integrate with email, you're golden. It's an absolutely hugely powerful way of tapping into that user base. And then finally, people that use Google Apps tend to have a company-wide mindset. And so for a company like a Sicily that believes in collaborative support, delivering to customers, that having that hard work already done of convincing an organization that they should deploy tools system-wide or deploy tools throughout their organization saves us a lot of time and energy and effort to argue that. So customer service doesn't get siloed in a service organization. It's actually distributed throughout the entire organization. And it ends up, because we tend to sell by the user, it ends up being higher ring totals for our customers. So look, Gmail is a great tool for support when you're tiny. But as soon as you start hitting any volume, you get a dozen or two emails from your customers a day. You have maybe a few people trying to provide support within your team. It's not the right tool for the task. It tends to break down. So you go to Google Apps Marketplace, you find a tool like Sicily, you notice it's got 5-star reviews, people love the product, you hit the Add It Now button. And we've done some really neat things in this onboarding process. Now, we skipped a couple screens just to make the demo tolerable, but there's a series of the terms of service and the authentication on the Google side. But as soon as you get into our onboarding process, we query the Google API to find your site domain. So we populate the site. This is where you go to use a Sicily. And then we actually do another query, and we pull up all of the users on your system and let you check off users that you want to invite to collaborate with you on your support, to trial the product, to use the product. And then again, because we want it to be an instant wow experience for customers that are trying a Sicily, we look to try to find an email box that's probably the support inbox, support@mycompany.com or help@mycompany.com. We automatically populate that in the box. We make it one click to hook that channel up and import your existing emails. And then again, we've got other channels like the social media channels that are 1 or 2 clicks away. And then you're done. You're in Sicily as soon as you enable it. This is the collaborative agent desktop. It's optimized for customer support workflow. All of your customer inquiries from all your channels, whether it be social media or email or phone, are organized in a priority order. You can click on any one of them. And you've got all the tools you need to handle your customer inquiries. You have a customer record, so you have all the history of that customer. You have any status of that customer. Every case has a priority. Every case has an owner. Every case has a status, and that means you have this airtight capability for providing support. Yet it's an interface that looks a lot like email. So you tend to have the familiarity that you normally get from that. That's it. That's for the demo. Yeah, the sneaker net. All right, so I have two tips for the marketplace. The first one is there are a lot of applications in the marketplace. Scott mentioned 300. Spend the good part of a day actually installing applications and trying them out. There are some that have really terrific workflows and others that don't have such terrific workflows. Some of the product listing pages are a lot better than others. Some of them are very careful to rank for the right SEO terms in the marketplace, which is important for people who are searching. Some are written really well. We've got great copywriting. So identify the ones that you think are the best practices. Look at the applications that are successful in the marketplace, and really spend the time to study the onboarding process to identify how you can make it easier for your customer to get to that moment of wow as fast as they can when installing your application. And then tap the community. I mean, one of my favorite application installations was by TungleMe. I wrote a love note to the CEO, ended up spending 20 minutes on the phone with him, gave me some absolutely terrific tips. It's still a small community, and I found that you can reach out to people and get some great advice. And then don't forget your analytics. There's an ability to add a Google Analytics profile to your listing page. absolutely create that profile and add that page, and then treat your listing page and all the links on that page like you would any other campaign, and attach Google UTM codes. If you don't know what that is, Google it and you'll find out, but you can attach tracking codes to your links, because that's how you figure out where the value is coming from, and that's how you justify your return on investment in the marketplace. And I'll give you one clear example. So you look at this page, and you say, well, where's the money button, right? Well, it's this one. Yes, of course. That's where the money comes from. But it's also at this link, because people click that link and they come to your website. And this link, same thing. And these two links, they come to your website. And because we coded all those to track them from the Google Apps Marketplace, what we found is that in addition to all the great business that Google Apps Marketplace was bringing us directly through the Add It Now button, we also had another 30% lift. So there were another 30% additional customers that were finding about Assistly from the Google Apps Marketplace, but were becoming our customers through some other mechanism, or at least trying the product through some other mechanism. And so we're getting this additional justification for our participation in the marketplace, and we're absolutely thrilled with the support that Google has given us and with the success in the marketplace. So it's been an absolutely terrific channel for us. We've been on the marketplace a little over 60 days now, and within the first 30 days was one of our top 5 performing channels. Like I mentioned earlier, terrific community. I've done a lot of applications for a lot of different platforms, had relationships with a lot of different developer relationships. Google's is world-class. We've been able to get our technical questions answered. We've gotten great support on the marketing side, absolutely world-class. And then a ton of indirect benefits. The traffic and the visibility of Assistly that's brought to us from the marketplace, in addition to the lift of organic signups that we saw, that we can attribute at least partially back to our presence in the Google Apps Marketplace. So thank you, and I think Scott's got some Q&A here.
All right, thanks guys. Awesome presentations. Thank you for sharing. So we're going to go into Q&A. For the next 13 so minutes we've got left. If you've got a question for any of us up here, please, actually, if you could come to the mic, that would be great.
Hey, as someone on the marketplace, I'd love to say these are some great tips, great advice. Thank you. Quick question, Scott. You'd mentioned about billing. You said that if you acquire a user in the apps marketplace, then you pay the 20% recurring, and if you don't, then you don't. So is it just fine to have people using your gadget or your connection points if they're paying you somewhere else, as long as they weren't acquired on the page? In other words, you get all the integration even if the billing didn't come from there?
It's a great question. So, and we are a little bit light in the details here. So in general, billing through the marketplace will eventually be a requirement. So when we have our billing APIs, they're fully rolled out, and there's going to be a grace period, but you will need to adopt the billing APIs that we put out when they come.
And I didn't mean to. I know that you guys are changing billing stuff. I wasn't as much referring to that as more just the acquisition part. In other words, I know you can always have a free product. I'm guessing. Yes. And there's definitely a paid version. But are you saying that if you have a paid version, then and they use your market thing, then the paying will go through you? It's
for new customers. So your existing customers can come and add the additional integrations using the Add It Now button, that provisioning flow, and there's no rev share if they're existing customers. If they're new to you, then there is a rev share.
I guess it's just, to me, the whole idea of what's new. I mean, like, I might have a customer, but you don't know whether they're new or not when they click the Add It Now button.
So yeah, so the terms of service say new. We don't define it as new in the last second and new in the last day. It's a good point. But in general, the spirit of it is new. So literally, if they just came through and said, hey, this is a great application, let me check it out, that's a new customer. If they were a customer a month ago and they come to the marketplace and say, oh, I'd also like to, now I'm a Google Apps customer and I'd like to hook these two things up, that's an existing customer.
So somewhere or another, there's some sort of trust thing in there. It's not necessarily just because because for example, on iTunes, it doesn't matter where you came from, you pay. Whereas here you're saying there's some fuzziness about where the customer came from.
Correct, and we'll try to defuzz that as we launch it out. Thanks.
Hey, I'm Tim. We're a Google Apps partner and distributor in Chile and Latin America. We are also developing apps now for the marketplace, and one thing that was very interesting I found was what you guys mentioned about the conversion rates to paying customers, right? Because one thing is that you drive traffic and you say, the Google Apps, I don't know who of you said it, the Google Apps customers that use the marketplace are ready to pay, right? That makes them more qualified. You get higher conversion rates. Have you, I just wanted to see if you can go into more detail, each one of you, just really quickly, if there's a big difference between in percentages of the Google Apps customers and the premium users of Google Apps. So those that are already paying for Google Apps versus the guys that are using the free version. Have you done any analysis on that? So that would be very interesting to say, okay, so, somebody who uses Google Apps free edition is likely to convert that, 10%, but somebody that's already using premium edition is already paying. Should be easier, right?
Yeah, so I can answer that really quickly from our experience. Our application actually interfaces with APIs that are only available with the business edition of Google Apps. So all of our customers are actually, paying customers are Premier Edition customers or business edition customers. Okay. So they have already paid for the application.
Yeah, for GQs, I don't have the stats on the differences between maybe the free Google Apps users versus premium, but I do know that a large majority of my customers, they're smaller businesses between, 5 and 25 users, and a lot of those then are falling under the free Google Apps, and they seem to be converting just as much as the pay. And so for us, we haven't seen a difference. If they're on Google Apps, then they want products and they'll pay for them. Even if they're not paying for Google Apps itself.
Yeah, we've only been in the marketplace for 60 days, so I don't have statistically relevant data. We're seeing a pretty uniform conversion rate, though. So we'll see if that holds out as we get more conversions.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
Great, thanks everybody, great tips. Good follow-on question actually around who you're seeing on the marketplace. Curious, you mentioned small businesses. I'm curious what the mix is between very small, the small business range that you mentioned versus, larger, mid-size, or even enterprise companies. And also the mix you're seeing between, all your tools have a lot of end user appeal. I'm curious what you're seeing between, the admin and the end user appeal and how you're kind of bridging that divide, or maybe the companies are so small that it doesn't really make a difference.
Okay, so I'll take a stab at, is there an on button? Hello? I think I just, so the first question, I forgot the first question.
Just company size,
Yeah, so the company size. So Assistly targets companies that are between 50 and 150 employees, which means their support staff is, 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. We get a pretty wide range of company sizes and so Assistly license sizes from the Google Apps Marketplace. I would say a fairly meaningful percentage, but again, I'm talking about small sample sizes still, are in that organization size that's 150 or less, but I'm not seeing like all of them being on the free tier of the Google Apps. I'm seeing a pretty wide mix. We've gotten some fairly sizable customers from the Google Apps Marketplace. And that's one of the reasons it's exciting to us. What was the second question?
Oh, just the mix between, especially for those larger companies, the admin who actually needs to do the add it now.
Yeah, okay, so that's a great question. So I don't, so the question I think is, the admin may not be the actual consumer of the application. Okay, so Assistly is a good example. So your a large organization, your customer service organization might be 20% of your overall organization. The customer service manager is probably not the admin. So I think, this is my hypothesis, I don't know the answer, but I think part of what accounts for the 30% lift that I showed you are people that are in the customer service organization. They aren't the administrator, but they might be the decision maker or certainly a key influencer, are finding us on the marketplace but don't have the admin privileges. So they're coming to our website, signing up through our normal process. What I don't know yet is to see if those folks go back with their administrator and actually sign up. I've seen that happen once, but I'll have to see if there's a trend there. But I think that is kind of an interesting question, how we should solve it.
Just to add to that topic, so definitely we're very well aware that the buyer is not always the admin, and we recently rolled out a feature that lets a non-admin notify their admin. That's a small step to making that flow easier, but we're working on also other ways to enable all buyers.
Yeah, I just want to add that we definitely see a variety of customers, small and large. I think most of them are smaller customers just because most of the customers on Google Apps are smaller customers in general. So the large majority of them are smaller customers. Our tool is actually an admin-focused tool. We do have end-user capabilities, but we're actually targeting the admin. We're in the admin tools section. So it's definitely used more by admins than end users in our case.
Great. Cool. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
I just want to add something to that. If you have an application that's targeted at the smaller organization, you've actually got this triple benefit because the person who does the install also tends to be the decision maker. And so these 30 to 50 organization, 50 employees or fewer, that's often concentrated in, one person.
Thanks, guys, for great tips. We are actually a Google Apps Marketplace vendor. I have a couple of suggestions about it. One of the things that we find a little bit difficult is to get support for technical aspects of our application, especially when we work with enterprise customers. We tend to send emails to general support and all. What would be great is if there is a special channel where marketplace vendors can have either a better support through either technical support and other stuff. That will be very interesting. Is there anything like that planned, or what are your thoughts about that? Because some of you probably have your applications running. Do you get a special channel, or if there are technical issues or critical issues, do you get appropriate support, and how do you actually deal with those things when they're really critical?
Just to clarify, are these typically questions with the purchase process of the marketplace, or things like APIs being slow or not working the way you expect them there?
It's both. In the sense, it looks like in general what we find is we have to go through these various channels, but since we are actually signing up, say, for the marketplace partnership,
Right.
if there is a special channel where there is a dedicated support and we can get through an email or some other contact ways,
Yeah.
It's not just for billing. I think billing is,
Sure.
or provisioning is one, but even otherwise.
So it's a great question. It's an important topic. I'll be the first to admit that it's not a simple process. We've got, I'd say, a dozen forums across different APIs, including a kind of a main forum, which is really for marketplace as an umbrella or as a process. So right now, your best bet is to engage with us in the Google Apps Marketplace forum if it's some sort of question around anything that's non-API specific, and then also engage with us in the forums for APIs. We don't have any other kind of paid or per ticket support right now, but it's a request we get a lot, so we're thinking about it.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Steph. I'm a vendor in Europe, in France, and we are targeting a lot of customers that are not English speakers. And I would like to know if there is a plan to get to localize the marketplace for non-English speakers.
Great question. There is a plan. Unfortunately, there's no concrete date that I can give you, but absolutely, we see a huge adoption of Google Apps and the marketplace. All kinds of countries that don't speak English as the primary language. So even though we're global, we're English only, but we know that's not going to serve our purposes. So nothing to share in terms of a date, but it's definitely something that's a high priority for us.
Okay, I have another question. What's the process for being showcased on the admin panel of customers? Is it something that we have to pay, or is it like you recommend the application?
Sure. Yeah, I was waiting for that question. That's usually the first question I get. In general, there are two areas where we're showcasing, or where individual applications are being kind of singled out. The homepage of the marketplace is the one, and that's featured and notable. That is an editorially chosen set of apps, and we look at things like, mainly a customer adoption, reaction, quality of the experience. And we try to surface things that we see are being adopted or ramping up an adoption there first. So that's the home page. On the control panel and the setup wizard, which I showed, that's actually an algorithmic decision. So we have a recommendation algorithm that basically looks at things about the customer, looks at the applications. Again, takes all kinds of signals like any good recommendation algorithm would, but it's not a paid placement. It's a chosen by that algorithm to basically try to match the application with that user.
Thank you.
All right, time for one more question. Anyone else? We've got a lot of brain power and experience up here for the panel. Anything else? Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, of the three companies, is there any preference on the language, like say Python versus Java, and then external site versus using Google App Engine? Do you guys have a preference?
So the question was, can you repeat the question on the
The
preference of
language between Python or Java, implementation-wise? And what was the difficulties? And
So what I demoed today was Python. Our current version is actually Java. That's part of the reason it's taken us a long time to redevelop. So, but it's both are on App Engine.
oh, okay.
And just to point out, you don't have to create your app on App Engine. It can be on any kind of platform, and then the integration is just that XML file. I'm on Python because I love it with the App Engine, but you can do it on anything.
And we're probably the odd man out here. We're actually running Ruby on Rails at Amazon, and the integration couldn't have been easier. We're up and running, I think, in 3 days.
Awesome. Well, thank you all, and thanks to our awesome speakers. Appreciate it.